Oh yeah, this. Well, look, this has been a long shoot, and I haven't, really even gotten paid or nothing. So, yeah. Okay, I have to admit, the puppet's been drinking, but just a little. I can read. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. We can get it going. Let's just get rid of this here, and we can get everything started. There we go. That's better. Okay. Are we rolling? Oh, you want it completely out of the shot? Okay. Somebody. Oh, Johnny's coming. Get it out of the shot. Okay. Hang on. Johnny's coming. Here he comes. Okay. Okay, that's better. All right. We okay? We good? Yeah. Okay. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I haven't been paid for 2 weeks' work. The president is in deeper shit than a latrine in a Marine camp. And we got this crappy new set with the elephants. Those are elephants. I don't know if you can see all that, but those are elephants. So, am I pissed? Yeah, I'm pissed. But look, I'm a professional. I got a job to do. I'm gonna do it. But we're not happy. We rolling? Don't let the boss hear any of this stuff. Oh yeah, and I got the obscenity letter today. Yeah, they're taking action after the thing in Cleveland. And I read the transcripts of the Wiener trial. Oh, a mess that was. Now this. All because the president said fuck. Well, and shit, and lying bastard, and a bunch of other stuff. But let's get going. We rolling? Alright. Here we go. And stop that goddamn typewriter! Jeez. Like it's 1972 over here. This isn't Watergate, you know. Okay, here we go. J. The president's conduct towards Flynn, Manafort, and Homie. Homie's back. Overview. In addition to the interactions with McGahn described above, the president has taken other actions directed at possible witnesses in the special counsel's investigation, including Flynn, Manafort, Homie, and as described in the next section, Cohen. When Flynn withdrew from a joint defense agreement with the president's personal counsel stated that Flynn's actions would be viewed as reflecting hostility towards... We messed up the scroll. Okay. Alright, look. I know you guys haven't been paid either. But we gotta stay professional here. We got a job to do. So get that scroll rolling. And forget about that reflecting hostility thing. Is it rolling? Is it rolling? Okay, better now. When Flynn withdrew from a joint defense agreement with the president's personal counsel stated that Flynn's actions would be viewed as reflecting hostility towards the president. During Manafort's prosecution and while the jury was deliberating, the president repeatedly stated that Manafort was being treated unfairly and made it known that Manafort could receive a pardon. Harm to ongoing matter, or Homie. Evidence. 1. Conduct directed at Michael Flynn. As previously noted, see Volume 2, Section 2B, Supra. The President asked for Flynn's resignation on February 13, 2017. Following Flynn's resignation, the President made positive public comments about Flynn, describing him as a wonderful man, a fine person, and a very good person. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this guy. Yeah. He's the epitome of good person. The President also privately asked advisors to pass messages to Flynn conveying that the President still cared about him and encouraging him to stay strong. In late November 2017, Flynn began to cooperate with this office. On November 22, 2017, Flynn withdrew from a joint defense agreement he had with the President. Flynn's counsel told the President's personal counsel and counsel for the White House that Flynn could no longer have confidential communications with the White House or the President. Later that night, the President's personal counsel left a voicemail for Flynn's counsel that said, "I understand your situation, but let me see if I can't state it in starker terms. It wouldn't surprise me if you've gone on to make a deal with the government. There's information that implicates the President, and we've got a national security issue. So you know, we need some kind of heads up. Just for the sake of protecting all our interests if we can. Remember what we've always said about the President and his feelings towards Flynn, and that still remains." Wow. Can I have another drink? Oh, no. Keep going. On November 23rd, 2017, Flynn's attorneys returned the call from the President's personal counsel to acknowledge receipt of the voicemail. Flynn's attorneys reiterated that they were no longer in a position to share information of any sort under privilege. According to Flynn's attorneys, the President's personal counsel was indignant and vocal in his disagreement. The President's personal counsel said that he interpreted what they said to him as a reflection of Flynn's
You gotta fucking be kidding me!
hostility towards the President, and he planned to inform his client of that interpretation. Flynn's attorneys understood that statement to be an attempt to make them reconsider their position because the President's personal counsel believed that Flynn would be disturbed to know that such a message could be conveyed to the President. On December 1st, 2017, Flynn pleaded guilty to making false statements pursuant to a cooperation agreement. The next day, the President told the press that he was not concerned about what Flynn might tell the special counsel. In response to a question about whether the President still stood behind Flynn, the President responded, "We'll see what happens." Over the next several days, the President made public statements expressing sympathy for Flynn and indicating he had not been treated fairly. On December 15, 2017, the President responded to a press inquiry about whether he was considering a pardon for Flynn by saying, "I don't want to talk about pardons for Michael Flynn yet. We'll see what happens. Let's see. I can say this. When you look at what's gone on with the FBI and the Justice Department, people are very, very angry.
But there you call yourselves professional.
Very angry." 2. Conduct directed at Manafort. On October 27, 2017, a grand jury in the District of Columbia indicted Manafort and former deputy campaign manager Richard Gates of multiple felony counts. And on February 22nd, 2018, a grand jury in the Eastern District of Virginia indicted Manafort and Gates on additional felony counts. I bet it's counts. We'll see. I bet it's going to be Counts. Counts, I know this stuff. The charges in both cases allege criminal conduct by Manafort that began as early as 2005 and continued through 2018. In January 2018, Manafort told Gates that he had talked to the president's personal counsel and they were going, quote, going to take care of us, unquote. Manafort told Gates it was stupid to plead. You're stupid! Saying that he had been in touch with the president's personal counsel, repeating they should sit tight and we'll be taken care of. Don't be stupid. Gates asked Manafort outright if anyone mentioned pardons, and Manafort said no one used that word. No one used the P word. As the proceedings against Manafort progressed in court, the president told Porter that he never liked Manafort. Oops. And that Manafort did not know what he was doing on the campaign. The president discussed with aides whether and in what way Manafort might be cooperating with the special counsel's investigation, or whether Manafort knew any information that would be harmful to the president. In public, the president made statements criticizing the prosecution and suggesting that Manafort was being treated unfairly. On June 15, 2018, before a scheduled court hearing that day on whether Manafort's bail should be revoked based on new charges that Manafort had tampered with witnesses while out on bail, the president told the press, "I feel badly about a lot of them." Feel badly. Because I think a lot of it is very unfair. I mean, look at some of them, where they go back 12 years. Like Manafort has nothing to do with our campaign. He was the campaign manager. But I feel I tell you, I feel a little badly about it. They went back 12 years to get things that he did 12 years ago. Oh, like breaking the law or something. I feel badly for some people because they've gone back 12 years to find things about somebody, and I don't think it's right. You can only go back 10 years. In response to a question about whether he was considering a pardon for Manafort or other individuals involved in the special counsel's investigations, the president said, "I don't want to talk about that. No, I don't want to talk about that. But look, I do want to see people treated fairly. That's what it's all about. So don't come back 12 years. What's your problem?" Hours later, Manafort's bail was revoked and the president tweeted, "Wow, what a tough sentence for Paul Manafort, who has represented Ronald Reagan, Bob Dole, and many other top political people in campaigns. Didn't know Manafort was the head of the mob." Couldn't figure that out, could you? What about Comey and Crooked Hillary and all the others? Very unfair. Immediately following the revocation of Manafort's bail, the president's personal lawyer, Rudolph Giuliani, gave a series of interviews in which he raised the possibility of a pardon for Manafort. Giuliani told the New York Daily News that when the whole thing is over, things might get cleaned up with some presidential pardons. Giuliani also said in an interview that although the president should not pardon anyone while the special counsel's investigation was ongoing, when the investigation is concluded, he's kind of on his own, right? Right? No constitution or nothing. In a CNN interview 2 days later, Giuliani said, "I guess I should clarify this once and for all, because my last statement made no sense. The president has issued no pardons in this investigation. The president is not going to issue pardons in this investigation. When it's over, hey, he's the president of the United States, and they're in jail. He retains his pardon power. Nobody's taken that away from him. Giuliani rejected the suggestion that his and the president's comments could signal to defendants that they should not cooperate in a criminal prosecution because a pardon might follow, saying the comments were certainly not intended that way. Giuliani said the comments only acknowledged that an individual involved in the investigation would not be excluded from a pardon, and in fact, the president and his advisors come to the conclusion that you've been treated unfairly. Oh, because everybody's supposed to be treated fairly, including people that broke the law 12 years ago. Giuliani observed that pardons... I'm telling you now. Giuliani observed that pardons were not unusual in political investigations, but said that doesn't mean they're going to happen. Yeah. Here. Because he's the president and you're in jail. Yeah. Doesn't mean anybody should rely on it, because you're in jail. Big signal is nobody's been pardoned yet. Everybody's in jail. On July 31st, 2018, Manafort's criminal trial began in the Eastern District of Virginia, generating substantial news coverage. The next day, the president tweeted, "This is a terrible situation, and Attorney General Jeff Sessions should stop this rigged witch hunt right now before it continues to stain our country any further. Bob Mueller is totally conflicted, and his 17 angry Democrats are doing his dirty work, are a disgrace to the USA." Minutes later, the president tweeted, "Paul Manafort worked for Ronald Reagan." Oh, like that makes you smart. Bob Dole, and many other highly prominent and respected political leaders. He worked for me for a very short time, but really made a mess of things. Why didn't government tell me that he was under investigation? Oh, because he wasn't until he started working for you. These old charges had nothing to do with collusion. A hoax. Later in the day, the president tweeted, "Looking back on history, who was treated worse? Alphonse Capone." Really? He said Alphonse Capone? Legendary mob boss, killer, and public enemy number one? Or Paul Manafort, political operative and Reagan Dole darling, now serving solitary confinement, although convicted of nothing? Where is the Russian collusion? Well, it's kind of in this report. The president's tweets about the Manafort trial were widely covered by the press. When asked about the president's tweets, Sanders told the press, "Certainly the president's been clear." Clear? This guy's never clear. He thinks Paul Manafort's been treated unfairly. Well, yeah, because he committed crimes 12 years ago. On August 16, 2018, the Manafort case was submitted to the jury and deliberations began. At that time, Giuliani had recently suggested to reporters that the special counsel investigation needed to be done in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And media stories reported that a Manafort acquittal would add to criticism that the special counsel investigation was not worth the time and expense, whereas a conviction could show that ending the investigation would be premature. I wonder the way that one went. On August 17th, as jury deliberations continued, the president commented on the trial from the south lawn of the White House. Another clever thing to do. In an impromptu exchange, in other words, something that wasn't planned, with reporters that lasted approximately 5 minutes, the president twice called the special counsel's investigation a rigged witch hunt. When asked how he would pardon Manafort if he was convicted, the president said, "I don't talk about that now. I don't talk about that." The president then added, without being asked a further question, "I think the whole Manafort trial is very sad when you look at what's going on here. I think it's a very sad day for our country. He worked for me for a very short period of time. But you know, he happens to be a very good person. Unlike that Flynn guy. And I think it's very sad what they've done to Paul Manafort. The president did not take further questions. In response to the president's statements, Manafort's attorney said Mr. Manafort really appreciates the support of President Trump. On August 21st, 2018, the jury found Manafort guilty on 8 felony counts. Also on August 21st, Michael Cohen pleaded guilty to 8 offenses, including a campaign finance violation that he said occurred in coordination with and at the direction of a candidate for federal office. The president reacted to Manafort's conviction that day by telling reporters, Paul Manafort's a good man who happened to get convicted of 8 felonies, and it's a sad thing that happened. Not clear if it was the conviction or the commission of the 8 felonies. The president described the special counsel's investigation as a witch hunt that ends in disgrace. The next day, the president tweeted, I feel very badly for Paul Manafort and his wonderful family. Justice took a 12-year-old tax case, among other things, applied tremendous pressure on him, and unlike Michael Cohen, he refused to break. He's a tough guy. Make up stories in order to get a deal. Such respect for a brave man who's still sitting in jail. In a Fox News interview on August 22nd, 2018, the president said, Cohen makes a better deal when he uses me like everyone else. And one of the reasons I respect Paul Manafort so much is that he went through the trial. You know, they make up stories. People make up stories. This whole thing about flipping, they call it, I know all about flipping. Wow. The president said that flipping was not fair and ought to be outlawed. In response to a question about whether he was considering a pardon for Manafort, the president said, I have great respect for what he's done in terms of what he's gone through. He worked for many, many people, many years, and I would say what he did, some of the charges that they threw against him, every consultant, every lobbyist in Washington probably does.
That's my business.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
So lock them all up. Sounds good to me. Giuliani told journalists that the president really thinks Manafort has been horribly treated. He and the president had discovered the political fallout of the president pardoned Manafort. The next day, Giuliani told the Washington Post that the president had asked his lawyers for advice on the possibility of a pardon for Manafort and other aides, and had been counseled against considering a pardon until the investigation concluded. Which I guess is now. On September 14th, 2018, Manafort pleaded guilty to charges in the District of Columbia and signed a plea agreement that required him to cooperate with investigators. Giuliani was reported to have publicly said that Manafort remained in a joint defense agreement with the president following Manafort's guilty plea, an agreement to cooperate, and that Manafort's attorneys regularly briefed the president's lawyers on the topics discussed. And the information Manafort had provided in interviews with the special counsel's office. On November 26, 2018, the special counsel's office disclosed in a public court filing Manafort had breached his plea agreement by lying about multiple subjects. The next day, Giuliani said the president had been upset for weeks about what he considers to be the un-American, horrible treatment of Manafort, a lying felon, I guess. In an interview on November 28, 2018, the president suggested it was very brave that Manafort did not flip. If you told the truth, you go to jail. Oh yeah. You know, this flipping stuff is terrible. You flip and you lie and you get Prosecutors will tell you 99% of the time they can get people to flip. It's rare that they can't. But I had 3 people. Manafort, Corsi, I don't know Corsi, but he refuses to say what they demanded. Manafort, Corsi, oh, and Homie. It's actually very brave. In a response to a question about a potential pardon for Manafort, the president said it was never discussed, but I wouldn't take it off the table. Why would I take it off the table? I'm looking at the table. It's off the table. 3. Uh-oh. Harm to ongoing matter.
Realizing money.
I need a drink. I can't keep going like this. We got a harm to ongoing matter. We got a harm to ongoing matter. We got a harm to ongoing matter. A harm to ongoing matter. A harm to ongoing matter. And then a bunch of footnotes. Now we'll be back. Okay, I feel better. We can pick up where we left off. We rolling? Oh. Johnny, can you get the glass out of the shot? Thanks. Okay. Are we still on that harm to ongoing matter? Oh, we are. Okay. Let's get past that. Can you scroll that past that? My scroller's new, you know, we had to get rid of the other guy. We couldn't handle it. Couldn't handle the truth. Apparently I can't handle the truth either because there's more harm to ongoing matter. How did this happen? You guys, scroll it. Keep it rolling. You know what this does to me, right? You heard? They warned you, right? They warned you, right? Right? Harm to ongoing matter? Harm? Oh, no. No. More harm to ongoing matter? What is this? Oh, no. Make it stop. Make it stop. I'm going to need another drink. Oh, no, wait. No, wait. We got it. We're back. Okay. Here we go. Analysis. We skipped all of section 3. All of it. In analyzing the president's conduct towards Flynn, Manafort, and Homie, the following evidence is relevant to the elements of obstruction of justice. A. Obstructive act. President's actions towards witnesses in the special counsel's investigation would qualify as obstructive. They had the natural tendency to prevent particular witnesses from testifying truthfully or otherwise would have the probable effect of influencing, delaying, or preventing their testimony to law enforcement. With regard to Flynn, the president sent private and public messages to Flynn encouraging him to stay strong and conveying that the president still cared about him before he began to cooperate with the government. When Flynn's attorneys withdrew him from a joint defense agreement with the president, signaling that Flynn was potentially cooperating with the government, the president's personal counsel initially reminded Flynn's counsel of the president's warm feelings. That's a little creepy. Towards Flynn and said, that still remains. But when Flynn's counsel reiterated that Flynn could no longer share information under a joint defense agreement, the president's personal counsel stated that the decision would be interpreted as reflecting Flynn's hostility towards the president. That sequence of events could have had the potential to affect Flynn's decision to cooperate, as well as the extent of that cooperation. Because of privilege issues, however, we could not determine whether the president was personally involved in or knew about the specific message his counsel delivered to Flynn's counsel. With respect to Manafort, there is evidence that the president's actions had the potential to influence Manafort's decision whether to cooperate with the government. The president and his personal counsel made repeated statements suggesting that a pardon was a possibility for Manafort, while also making it clear the president did not want Manafort to flip and cooperate with the government. On June 15, 2018, the day the judge presiding over Manafort's D.C. case was considering whether to revoke his bail, the president said that he felt badly for Manafort and stated, "I think a lot of it is very unfair." And when asked about pardon for Manafort, the president said, "I do want to see people treated fairly. That's what it's all about." Later that day, after Manafort's bail was revoked, the president called it a tough sentence that was very unfair. 2 days later, the president's personal counsel stated that individuals involved in the special counsel's investigation could receive a pardon, quote, "if the president and his advisors come to the conclusion that you have been treated unfairly," unquote. Using language that paralleled how the president had already described the treatment of Manafort. Those statements, combined with the president's commendation of Manafort for being a brave man who refused to break, suggested that a pardon was more likely possibility if Manafort continued not to cooperate with the government. And while Manafort eventually pleaded guilty pursuant to a cooperation agreement, he was found to have violated the agreement by lying to investigators. The president's public statements during the Manafort trial, including during jury deliberations, also had the potential to influence the trial jury. On the second day of the trial, for example, the president called the prosecution a terrible situation and a hoax that continues to stain our country, and referred to Manafort as a Reagan-Dole darling. Oh, that's a little creepy. Who was serving solitary confinement even though he was convicted of nothing. 12 felony charges of nothing. Those statements were widely picked up by the press. While jurors were instructed not to watch or read news stories about the case and are presumed to follow those instructions, the president's statements during the trial generated substantial media coverage that could have reached jurors if they happened to see the statements or learned about them from others. And the president's statements during jury deliberations that Manafort happens to be a very good person and that it's a very sad thing what they've done to Paul Manafort had the potential to influence jurors who learned of the statements which the president made as jurors were considering whether to convict or acquit Manafort. Oh. And some harm to ongoing matter. Oh, but it's short. It's short. B. Nexus to an official proceeding. The president's actions towards Flynn, Manafort, and Homie appear to have been connected to pending or anticipated official proceedings involving each individual. The president's conduct towards Flynn, Homie, principally occurred when both were under criminal investigation by the special counsel's office, and press reports speculated. What do they speculate? Speculated about whether they would cooperate with the special counsel's investigation. And the president's conduct towards Manafort was directly connected to the official proceedings involving him. The president made statements about Manafort and the charges against him during Manafort's criminal trial. And the president's comments about the prospect of Manafort flipping occurred when it was clear that the special counsel continued to oversee grand jury proceedings. C. Intent. evidence concerning the president's intent related to Flynn as a potential witness is inconclusive. As previously noted, because of privilege issues, we do not have evidence establishing whether the president knew about or was involved in his counsel's communications with Flynn's counsel, stating that Flynn's decision to withdraw from the joint defense agreement and cooperate with the government would be viewed as reflecting hostility towards the president. And regardless of what the president's personal counsel communicated, the president continued to express sympathy for Flynn after he pleaded guilty pursuant to a cooperation agreement, stating that Flynn had led a very strong life, and the president felt very badly about what had happened to him. Yeah, right. Evidence concerning the president's conduct towards Manafort indicates that the president intended to encourage Manafort to not cooperate with the government. Before Manafort was convicted, the president repeatedly stated that Manafort had been treated unfairly. One day after Manafort was convicted on 8 felony charges and potentially faced a lengthy prison term, the president said that Manafort was a brave man for refusing to break and that flipping almost ought to be outlawed. At the same time, although the president had privately told aides he did not like Manafort, he publicly called Manafort a good man and said he had a wonderful family. And when the president was asked about whether he considered a pardon for Manafort, the president did not respond directly. Instead, he said he had great respect for what Manafort's done in terms of what he's gone through. And the president also added that some of the charges they threw against him, every consultant, every lobbyist in Washington probably does. Isn't that kind of the drain the swamp thing? In light of the president's counsel's previous statements that the investigations might get cleaned up with some presidential pardons and that a pardon would be possible if the president comes to the conclusion that you have been treated unfairly, the evidence supports the inference that the what? The president, of course, intended Manafort to believe that he could receive a pardon, which would make cooperation with the government as a means of obtaining a lesser sentence unnecessary. Yeah, you don't need a lesser sentence if you got a pardon. That's some genius stuff there. We was the special counsel's office, not me and the production crew. Although we would have if we'd had the chance. I'm drifting. Never mind. We also examined the evidence of the president's intent on making public statements about Manafort at the beginning of his trial when the jury was deliberating. Some evidence supports a conclusion that the president intended, at least in part, to influence the jury. The trial generated widespread publicity, and as the jury began to deliberate, commentators suggested that an acquittal would add to the pressure to end the special counsel's investigation. By publicly stating on the second day of deliberations that Manafort, quote, happens to be a very good person, unquote, and that it's very sad what they've done to Paul Manafort and his wonderful family. Right after calling the special counsel's investigation a rigged witch hunt, the president's statements could, if they reached jurors, have the natural tendency to engender sympathy for Manafort among jurors, and the fact finder could infer that the president intended that result. But, as usual, there were alternative explanations for the president's comments, including that he genuinely felt sorry for Manafort, which would presume that he genuinely felt sorry for anybody, or that his goal was not to influence the jury, but to influence public opinion. Not exactly the same thing, I guess. The president's comments could have also been intended to continue sending a message to Manafort that a pardon was possible. As described above, the president made his comments about Manafort being a very good person immediately after declining to answer a question about whether he would pardon Manafort. We only pardon very good people, right? Oh, now we got some harm to ongoing matter. Oh, that looks bad. That looks bad for the president. Look at that. That's bad. I can tell. I need this to clear up. John, can you clear this up? Because I don't want to take another drink. Well, I do want to take another drink. Can I take another drink? Is that okay? I know, I'm not supposed to be drinking on the set. But you kind of, you kind of already saw me. Ah. Now we're up to K. K. Is there enough letters in the alphabet for this shit? We'll be back with the president's conduct involving Michael Cohen. Donald Trump ignores me and I don't know why. Everything the Trumpster hates rolled up into one guy. I'm sleepy and I'm nasty and I'm shady too, but not recused like Sessions. Was his name Magoo? Just like crooked Hillary or maybe lying Chuck. But no matter what I try, Don don't give a fuck. But I ain't no nervous Nancy or no sleazy Adam Schiff. Someone tell me how to get this ass to give a shit. I'm all for higher taxes and I'm all for higher crime. Think cheating Obama did the job just mighty fine. I like crazy Bernie, I like Pocahontas too. Just like Dickie Durbin, I ain't your mama's fool. Donald Trump ignores me and I don't know why. I'm everything the Trumpster hates rolled up into one guy. Lying, weak, heartless, slime ball slippery, sanctimonious, here for all to see.